This is the 5 Tech Things You Should Know About, episode number 82, brought to you by Mosey.com. This week we look at patents. Could they help with a monopoly and maybe antitrust, or is it intellectual property? Hey everybody, Jeffrey Powers here. Welcome to the 5 Tech Things You Should Know About for all you weekend warriors in tech that don't want too much information overload. Happy Easter, everybody! I tried to find my Easter Bunny ears, but I couldn't find them. But I did find my Darth Maul mask from when I did Darth Maul a few years ago for Halloween. So I think it's the same thing, right? I'm an Easter overlord? I don't know. Let's get into your 5 Tech Things. Well, if you were on Reddit or if you were on Foursquare or some of the other sites, all of a sudden yesterday at about 4 p.m. you saw everything go down, and it was just like, oh, what happened? The whole web went down. I can't get to my Foursquare. I can't get to my Reddit. I can't get my specials so I can get free muffin at Starbucks. It happens. It's servers, their computers, they go down, they have backup plans. It's the question of how fast they can get back up. Amazon Web Services, the cloud in Amazon, went down for a small period of time. And there are many websites, many big-time websites that were really affected to this. And eventually they got it back up. For the next 4 to 8 hours, it got really slow, 60 seconds to wait for a website to load up and so on and so forth. Like I said, it happens. Happens to me. My website's gone down a couple times. Happens in every single website. Remember when Google went down for about an hour? And all of a sudden, everybody was just like, oh my God, Google went down. What are we going to do? Facebook went down. What are we going to do? You have a backup plan. You go outside. You read a book. You go to a different website. There are many different websites that you could have went to. No, I don't have to worry about it. You could have went to geekazine.com. It was still up. We're not on Amazon's cloud. It happens. And yeah, it does change production. And companies do lose a lot of money when something like that happens. Thousands, even millions of dollars in just an hour's time. Everything came back up. It's the key right there, the fast time to come back up. If it takes like 12 hours, 24 hours, then you got to rethink your approach and your strategy. But if you got a 1 hour downtime in 5 years, in 10 years that you've been up, you've done a great job. So everything's back up and running. Go use your Reddit, go use your Foursquare, go get your free muffin over at Starbucks, and everything is good. All right, it's another April Fool's joke turned into reality. This time it was an April Fool's joke from last year. ThinkGeek came out with this iPad arcade, where you basically put the iPad into this little wooden box, and of course you hooked it up so the joystick was controlled through maybe Bluetooth or the dock or whatever. Well, a lot of people liked the idea, and some people thought to themselves, we could actually do this. We could build it bigger, better, stronger, with more muscles, and maybe even a couple games. So they did that. And all of a sudden it came out with the iCade. And ThinkGeek came out with the iCade, and they said, here's the iCade, ladies and gentlemen, have it. And it sold out. $99. Probably could have been $199, but they sold it for $99, and they made a pretty good run for the first run of the iCade. I'm guessing they're going to be making a few more of these little gaming systems for your iPad once you finally get your iPad, waiting for an iPad 2 to come back out if you didn't go over to Best Buy or Toys R Us this last Sunday to get your iPad from the back stock and stuff like that. But once you get that, then you can wait for the iCade, and then you're going to wait for that. And then once you get that, it's all obsolete and the next versions come out anyway, so you check out it over at thinkgeek.com. Before we get into this next article, I just want to congratulate Verizon. Since its launch of the iPhone 4 on Verizon, 906,000 people signed up for an iPhone, including my friend Aaron, who showed it off proudly this evening to me. And it's like, yeah, it's an iPhone. Yeah, hello, welcome to the bus, I guess. Well, it's reported that Apple has been kind of collecting the data from iPhones so they can track not where you were really, but just kind of get a better idea of where people go and so on and so forth. You kind of get muddled into this whole thing. It's not like they're tracking you personally. I don't know. The way I was reading this, it was something that you had to get on the phone to actually get that data. If somebody stole your iPhone and got on there, they could get into the area that could track where you were, where you are. Now, is it really a big deal? Because if you think about it, you can get tracked pretty easily just by taking a look at different camera feeds, just by finding out where you are when you check into Foursquare, when you check into Facebook, when you go and you're working on one wireless system, and then you go over to a coffee shop, that's another wireless system, that can track you that way. There's many different ways you can be tracked. This iPhone is just kind of more of a direct way of doing it. So to me, it's just, I see it as, I don't go to any place that's questionable. So I'm not too worried about if somebody's going to really be tracking me or not. I'm a very trackable person. You can find me at the Geekazine lair, and you know my regular address. If you know where to find the actual address, you can find me easily. Tracking, it's something that you're just going to have to get used to eventually, because wherever you go, whatever you do, you'll be tracked. You could even walk down the street and somebody's got a webcam pointed out to the street, maybe to show all the cute little squirrels on Ustream or something like that, and all of a sudden, poof, you're tracked. Just a different way of thinking about it. So to me, it's like, yeah, my iPhone tracks me. It's a great phone. I like it. I use the applications. Yeah, I'm a little bit discouraged by it, but not too much. It is what it is. Like I told you at the beginning, we now have an audio version of the 5 Tech Things. You guys asked for it, so I said, okay, let's get it going. So now the audio version of the 5 Tech Things is out there, which means that 5 Tech Things You Should Know About is also on Stitcher. And if you go over to stitcher.com/geek, stitcher.com/geek, you can get in, download the Stitcher application, and have a chance to win $100. All you have to do is go to stitcher.com/geek, enter in your email address, and download the application, and then you're entered in to win $100. So good luck to everybody out there, and get the 5 Tech Things You Should Know About over on Stitcher. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for the top 5 things that I learned this week. Number 5, man, kid hits a high note. Thought I was the only one that did that. Number 4, Us Weekly has named Jessica Simpson as their style icon of the year. Maybe as Daisy Duke, but really? Number 3, Gaga finally lets LL do a parody. Really? I thought that Gaga was a parody. Does that make Weird Al's song the serious one? Number 2, the Antarctic ozone is causing more drought in Australia, but the Aussies would say, alright, let's rock off with my blokes for some grog. Yeah, I know, I'm not Australian, but I do have the internet to find out those words. And the number 1 thing that I learned this week, Atari doesn't want to be overdone by Commodore. A company called Nivari has released an Atari 400 USB keyboard, just as bad as the original Atari keyboard. And those are the top 5 things that I learned this week. Alright, just to let you guys know, I am going to Interop this year, May 8th through the 12th in Las Vegas. Interop is a conference and expo dealing with clouds and virtualization, stuff like that. So we're going to get a lot of cool interviews talking about technology in the cloud, talking about programs that are putting stuff in the cloud, such as Office 365, such as things like Dropbox and stuff like that. We're hoping to find some really cool technology. I'll be out there with the camera and I'll be doing interviews, so watch out for that May 8th through the 12th. And of course, I'll be doing videos when I get back as well. So check that out. Do you use Outlook 2007 or 2010? You always wondered, when are they going to come out with an app store? Well, they kind of did. There's a company called Red Critter, and they have their own version of the App Store, which you can download absolutely free, which is pretty cool. You can get apps like Groupon, you can get Constant Contact, you can get Google Analytics, you can get YouTube, and a whole host of other applications with more being added. If you're a programmer, you can create applications for Red Critter to be put into their free app library. Now you're asking, is this kind of like a iPhone app library? Are you going to get 70%, they're going to get 30%? Well, no, it doesn't really work that way. Your free app goes out and goes out to everybody. They have a solution for private businesses to create private apps. So if you've got a company and you want to increase your outlook a little bit better, give them applications that they can use, analytic applications, maybe information going back to a database or something like that, you would use Red Critter, and they have some price plans for that. But in the meantime, if you just want to use it to get, your daily horoscope or the weather or maybe even a Groupon coupon or something like that, there you go, right there. Red Critter, you can check that out. We'll have the link in the show notes. All right, back up now, back up often, back up off-site. Use the code GEEK. That's going to get you 15% off that already low price. Prices start at $5.99 per month per computer. You can back up your pictures, your documents, your life off-site. Save yourself from fire, from flood, from theft. When you change out a computer, maybe the hard drive failure, you can get all that stuff back by using Mozy.com. And if you use the code GEEK, you're supporting Geekazine and the 5 tech things you should know about, and you're saving yourself 15%. So ladies and gentlemen, back up now, back up often, back up off-site with Mozy.com. All right, I talked about this on a post earlier this week, and I got a little bit of backlash on it, and I just want to clarify the idea, because I think it's a very important idea, and it deals with patents and companies. Now, when I went out to Dell in last year, November of last year, I saw some patents on the wall, which was pretty cool. And I'm always fascinated to see how they have a patent formed. And I know the process to get a patent. And during the article, I did say it was easy, when in all reality, it's not totally easy. You have to draw out the patent in a series of figures. You got to write down everything, document everything. Then you have to get it past a series of documents. You fill out these applications, and then you pay a fee, and then you fill out more applications. And then when it's all said and done, you do have a patent, which is pretty cool. Now, you have one patent, and it's intellectual property, so the patent is yours. That's saying that I made this, and this is mine. And there's no doubt about that. It's a great thing to have a patent. At least that's what I think. I don't have a patent personally. But my question is, if a company starts collecting patents, which they can do, will they start getting to a point where whatever somebody else tries to do becomes the competition can get squelched simply because of the fact that you don't want to have them having the patent, and therefore it makes it harder for them to put out a product? Let's take it this way. Let's say I created Thumbtack. I put a patent on the actual Thumbtack, which is pretty cool. You do the design, you do all the patents, and go from there. Well, I decided to take it a little bit farther. For instance, I patented the way that you sharpen the Thumbtack. I patented the way that you have the thumb press on the Thumbtack. And then there's extra stuff like putting thumbtacks into walls, putting thumbtacks into cloth and stuff like that. Different processes. Now, we're going a little bit overboard on this situation, but the whole idea is somebody else wants to make a thumbtack. They can't use any of my processes, so it makes it that much harder to make a thumbtack. Now let's get into technology and computers. And this comes from the Apple-Samsung patent dispute, in which Samsung actually sued back to Apple. Apple sued Samsung because they said some of their stuff look-wise, like for instance the part of the graphical user interface and the look of the phone, stepped on some of their patents. And so they want some retribution. Well, now Samsung has come back in how some of the power saving techniques and some of the 3G power saving techniques, and saying that that's violating on Samsung patents. So they're going back and forth. But it really brings this question: can a company hold way too many patents to cause an issue with a competing company? Let's take it in a different case. Let's say Apple has a patent for the way that you do the slide you slide to unlock your phone. The little graphical slide, that's a patent right there. You have a competitor that has that same thing, and Apple says, okay, that's our patent. But for this price, you can use the patent. And the company says, okay. So now all of a sudden you have a phone that's not an Apple iPhone, but a percentage of your phone price goes to Apple. Lots of back and forth, lots of legal mumbo jumbo, and I don't claim to know it all on the legal end of things and the patent end of things, but Eventually, there's going to be a company that's owning all these patents that you cannot make a competing phone or competing device or technology or whatever and actually have it hit market without having to pay a price to somebody like Apple, to somebody like Microsoft, to somebody like Google. It's a very sticky situation that you get in, but it still asks the question, are you stifling competition because you just own all the technology patents? You own every single way to make this phone, every single way to use this phone, every single way to touch this phone. And of course, I'm using phones as an example. It could be anything. It could be a thumbtack. It could be a floppy disk. It could be an LED light. It could be a computer monitor. It could be a pen. It could be anything. We've got patents spread across, so we see the Apple versus Samsung case where all of a sudden patents go back and forth. And of course, any patent can be disputed and redisputed. Microsoft is trying to overturn the I4I patent, which was an XML patent that they found inside of Microsoft, and I4I wanted to get that either paid for or taken out of Microsoft products. But Microsoft is trying to counter that patent simply because of the fact that the company never really used the patent. They actually sold the product before they made the patent, which brought a whole different bunch of legal stuff we won't get too much into. But the bottom line is this: there's a lot of legal back and forth over intellectual property. And some of this intellectual property, you kind of gotta wonder if they actually did think it up or if they just got lucky and they ended up patenting. I know that back in the 80s, they patented the pneumatic tire, and it was, the guy didn't make the pneumatic tire. That was made back in the 1880s, not the 1980s. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a lawyer or a patent lawyer, but this is going to come to a head eventually. There's going to be a company that's just going to own so many patents that's going to stifle technology and competition, and we're going to have to address it sooner or later. It's just something to think about. You can weigh in on what you think. Let me know over at geekazine@gmail.com or call me at 608-205-4378. Am I way off base on this idea, or do you think that we need to start regulating some of these patents that go out to companies and how companies buy patents? Because there are companies that have bought many patents. Just look at Palm Web OS. They have the Jordana patents. They have the handspring patents. They have all the patents from about 1995 to about 2002, 2003, with the exception of what Apple did with Newton. And those are the 5 tech things you should know about. My name is Jeffrey Powers. You got a question, got a comment? Feel free to call me at 608-205-4378 or geekazine@gmail.com. Once again, I'm going out to Vegas for Interrupt, so I'll be doing a lot of video out there in May. And of course, you can check out everything over at geekazine.com, including the social media breakfast I just did a couple days ago for local Madisonians. For the 5 tech things you should know about, Jeffrey Powers here. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for listening on your audio device as well, because we've got a lot of listeners that downloaded the first episode of the audio version. So thanks again, and we will see you next time on the 5 tech things you should know about. Take care. Do you use Do you